my buddy Randy here, man, but I told him he can't talk during the podcast.
Showtime, fellas. We up. We in here. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
What's up, man?
Good. Had a long, productive day, but I got a lot done here. Now I just got to make this camera stand up straight.
A little late with the applause. Gentlemen, as always, I appreciate you taking the time to get together and help teach this masculinity to men the world over. Because if it wasn't for guys like us, the future of masculinity would be lost. I got to tell you, some of the stuff I see, I am really glad that we're going over the power of self-reflection today. I can't even tell you how vital and essential this topic is, and I really can't wait to get into it. I want to talk about a few different things, man. I want to talk about the questions that you need to consider and ask yourself. I want to talk about what you do with your thoughts for self-reflection. I want to talk about how you take time to appreciate yourself and practice some gratitude. We definitely need to discuss meditation. And one thing TK talks about quite a bit is spending time alone. I think that's essential too. But all of this, gentlemen, all of this means that you need to have a mentor to talk to about this stuff, to ask questions, to bounce ideas off of. You know, I see a lot of guys and they got the right idea. They want to better themselves. They want to learn more about who they really are. You know, let's say it like that. And self-reflection is key to that. So I'm really glad we're getting into this tonight. And I think we may even come back to this again in a few weeks, because I think this is such an important thing that men don't realize. All right.
People don't realize how important it is, man, for self-reflection, man. It helps you find out who you are as a man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of guys don't really know what we're talking about. So, look, there was, you know what? Let's get into this. Before we get started, I need to make a full disclosure here. I'm my own man. I'm not part of the manosphere. I'm not with any different colored pills. I'm not with any different communities. I'm not some pickup artist. Look, I'm not even a dating coach. I would go as far as to say that I don't even have game. So you're probably wondering why I do this. Hey, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Well, I do have extensive experience with women, so I know firsthand most of you guys have no idea what you're even up against. So, and I also know how important it is. Look, gentlemen, that woman you're going to marry and have kids with, that's the biggest decision you're going to make in your entire life. So you better not mess it up. You need to learn how to vet the women that you allow into your life. And to properly do that, you have to be able to lead yourself. You have to be able to be responsible to yourself. And what we're talking about tonight is the power of self-reflection. And I want you guys to think of it as you're reviewing I do it daily, gentlemen. I don't know about you and how you do your own self-reflection. You know, we can get into this and talk about this, but I do self-reflecting daily. You got to understand, guys, I went to the manmindset.com. All right. I looked up this cat, Steve the Dean Williams, and Steve the Dean Williams talks real big on self-reflection. He calls it your film room. And I really like how Steve put it like that, because guys who don't know what they're doing when it comes to self-reflecting, a lot of these guys did have some locker room experience. They did play football. They did play basketball. They can understand the concept of a film room. And we can start with that, reviewing your day, reviewing your actions, reviewing the choices that you made, and how to better yourself going forward. because I think that's a real big point of self-reflection, is how to make changes throughout your day to better yourself. How to, and that there's so much to that on so many different levels, and a lot of that comes from where you're at in life. But if you can't look at your day, if you can't look at the actions and choices you're making and decide if you could have did something a little bit better, or how
then you ain't moving the right way.
you're not going to get better.
Yeah, you ain't moving the right way.
For 5 minutes and I've been talking the whole time. TK, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
What's up? I'm TK. I'm from West Virginia. Just kicking it, man. Here to have fun with you guys tonight.
Johnny, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
So I'm JohnnyDumbbell. I'm a personal trainer and lifestyle coach here in beautiful Pittsburgh, PA. I have virtual clients in other parts of the country too. I think my role in here is to kind of remind you all, and especially when it comes to an episode that's as dedicated as this one's going to be, to introspection. It's going to have to be that we have to admit to ourselves that we've fallen short. I myself am a recovering simp. A lot of those things that I had to learn in self-reflection, I had to use meditation, use those kinds of things to be able to look at my life, look at the mistakes I've made, look how I could have done things better. Like Bill said, we're always trying to improve on what we have. If you're not building, you're deconstructing, and that's what we're kind of trying to help you prevent.
Amen. Well, look, man. If you're not taking time to self-reflect, then you don't know what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. You know what I mean? You don't know. You don't spend enough time alone with yourself to know who you are as a person. And here's another thing: when you grow from a boy to a man, most boys have a father figure to shadow, to a role model from. You know what I mean? If you don't, when you're growing up as a boy to a man, then it's not a bad thing to find, try to find someone, man, who's a good role model. You don't want to be like them. You want to be yourself, but find someone to emulate a little bit, man. Someone, who has good standing, who has, some fucking masculinity, is good at pulling pussy. Coming up from a boy to a man, it's good to have someone like that looking over you, man, showing you the ropes. And if you don't, you're going to have a hard time. Eventually, you always want to be yourself, but it's nice when a young guy's coming up, man, to have someone to emulate a little bit, to look up to, show you the ropes.
Yeah,
Okay, what you're referring to is a mentor, and I just want to give a shout out to JohnnyDumbbell. He was one of the first mentors I had back in 2008. And that's the thing, man. Self-reflection, sometimes having another set of eyes, it's almost like someone coming in and, seeing a situation that they weren't sitting there looking at for the past 10 hours with you, and boom, figuring out what you couldn't. You know what I mean? It's like having that second pair of eyes to help you self-reflect sometimes. You know what I mean? Someone else, who's a male role model who you look up to, can point stuff out that maybe you're not seeing, that you're doing that's fucked up or moving the wrong way or whatever. And that's exactly it, TK. You need somebody, you need another set of eyes to tell you sometimes when you're doing some bitch ass shit, when you're having loser thoughts, when you're not thinking how a man's supposed to move, when you're letting your emotions guide you and dictate your actions instead of your standards and your principles. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now, Johnny, one thing, all right, when it comes to self-reflection, I think it's key to consider the questions that you're asking yourself. And Johnny, I love how you talk about how you're a recovering simp, because I got to be honest with you, I'm a bit of a recovering street goon. I'm a little rough around the edges, and it took me years to really start to ask myself the kind of questions that I needed to so that I could grow and self-improve. And a lot of that was some hard questions that I had to ask myself. I don't really want to get into it, my troubled and checkered past, but I can tell you it wasn't until I started to ask myself very difficult questions while self-reflecting that I was able to grow past my mental state, where my mindset was at the time. So go ahead, John.
That's one of the hardest things about it too, is because if you truly want to improve yourself, you're going to have to be able to dig deep and answer some really difficult questions for yourself. You're going to have to ask some questions you don't want the answer to, but you're going to get that answer anyway. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow. And we have to be willing to do that. We have to be willing to go to those places. As I was getting in shape, it was after my marriage dissolved. And that's putting it nicely. But I mean, it got to the point where, look, I had to go to some dark places in my mind to figure out not only who I was, but who I wanted to be. And, one thing that I've learned over the years is, it's always good to try to befriend people who are a little more successful than you. Those ideas tend to rub off on each other. You kind of get a sense of that, even if it's just maybe getting the right attitude towards doing it yourself, getting towards, where you want to be. I'm trying to grow in my business, and it looks like it's going pretty good so far. But I'm looking at these other guys that are doing what I do in both in this area and online. And hey, man, it pays to pay attention to what successful people are doing.
Hey, look, man, the saying, if you lay with dogs, you get fleas. That didn't just come from nowhere, man. When you're coming up, man, if you're hanging around motherfuckers that are doing things and making moves in the right direction, then that's what you're going to be doing. If you're hanging with motherfuckers that's doing dumb shit, then that's what you're going to be doing.
Now, I think when it comes to self-reflection and growing, I think you need to, at times, I don't really want to say journaling, but there's things that you're going to need to write down. Okay.
Yeah,
like we were talking a minute ago about having a mentor and having a fresh set of eyes and having somebody tell you when you're having loser thoughts. You need to write stuff down.
Keep a log, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't want it to be like where it's
a fucking diary. Yeah, but
like a diary. But
right,
a little bit of journaling.
That's what it takes, though. If that helps you, go for it.
Right.
Johnny,
well, what he means is not writing a fucking magazine or a damn, soap opera novel.
Right. Okay. What I'm saying is, you guys, I think it's perfectly acceptable to write down questions, to write down things you don't understand. But once you get to the point where you're writing down your feelings, then you got a problem there. I'm just saying. So now another thing. Okay. Another thing I think of when it comes to self-reflection is self-gratitude. And how to show myself I just appreciate myself. And sometimes it's just looking at me in the mirror and telling myself that, like, man, I appreciate you. Nobody's got my back like you do. You are that motherfucker, man. I'm so glad you're on my team. And then sometimes it's a little more than that. Sometimes it can be self-care. I'm a big advocate for going places by myself and treating myself, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner. Because look, I've dated a lot of women, and I just don't understand how these dudes would like take a woman to a restaurant that they've never taken themselves to. Look, like I said, I'm big on self-care, but that comes down to the self-gratitude and just appreciating that motherfucker in the mirror. And that was something else I had to learn how to do. And taking time and through self-reflection is really take time to appreciate me and be grateful for me and all my accomplishments, whether it's something small or something major. I celebrate them all because I celebrate me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people on the surface could call that conceited or arrogant, but the truth of the matter is that some days you're the only one who appreciates you, and you got to be able to accept that. But if it's true appreciation, absolutely, and you have your reasons if it is. A wiser man than myself once told me, if you can't look back 15, 20 years on your life and say, my God, I was an asshole, you might still be that asshole.
Yeah. Now, okay, so TK, I know you're a huge advocate for this, and I think this is a big part of self-reflection is spending time alone. Because if you can't spend time alone, how can you learn? No, how can you even know yourself? How can you learn the things that you like and you don't like?
You can't, man. You can't, and you're not properly self-reflecting if you're not working out your daily problems and moving forward. You know what I mean? So the whole point of self-reflection is to figure out what you're doing, what kind of bitch ass shit you're doing and turn it around, and stop doing it or whatever the case may be. If you're being lazy on these days and you need to start doing more, whatever the case, self-reflection is mostly going to be the stuff that you're doing wrong, in your life that you need to change.
Yeah, but I mean, I like what Bill says. I mean, take those few minutes to be grateful for what you did do right, though. I mean, just like anybody else in your life that you love, you got to love yourself enough to be able to give yourself the positives and the negatives. You got to remind yourself of what you're getting up and grinding every day for. And that might be forever. But I mean,
Sorry, my bad, man. I usually take at the end of the day and reflect almost at the end of every day. You know what I mean? On what I accomplished that day, what I didn't accomplish, what I could do better about managing my time more wisely throughout that day when I got this going on, that going on. You know what I mean?
You know what I like to self-reflect on, gentlemen? Like I said, Steve Dean Williams talks about having a film room. So something I get in my film room and I analyze is the way that I step to women, the way that I present myself as a man, how confident I am when I go up to her, like it's a given, and hey, look, funny story, guys, I got shot down the other day. I was getting like, this woman was just looking at me and smiling, and I could, how you could just tell when they want a man to step to them and talk to them, when they want to have a conversation with a man, we just know. So I go over there and I introduce myself and I say, how you doing? My name's William. She quickly gave me her name. And, I hit her with you got anybody in your life to have a problem if I wanted to give you my phone number? And Johnny, you should have seen the look on her face. The pangs, like somebody like it was hurting her to have to tell me that she had somebody in her life. Like there was visible, like, oh, like finally I meet a man and he steps to me the right way and I gotta tell him I can't take his number. It was the funniest thing in the world to me. But yeah, man, I actually got shot down the other day.
Get another in your trail of broken hearts.
Right, but the point of that great story is that when I'm with self-reflecting that day in my film room, thinking about how I stepped to this woman, how I presented myself as a man, going over what I could have did differently, I had realized that I did everything perfect. I couldn't have done anything any different. That we have no control over what she's got going on at home. She's allowed to have a boyfriend. She's allowed to have people in her life. She's allowed to be physically sad and sickened over not being able to take my number. So, and it just happens. But that's one of the things I do when I'm self-reflecting. I'm a man in real life. I don't just talk about being one on the internet. When I tell you guys need to step to women that you like everywhere you go, I sit here and tell you that because I do it. So as I'm self-reflecting, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to improve. I think about how that approach went, whether it's one approach or half a dozen. I'm going over each and every one, tweaking, critiquing myself so that I could get better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and, with the fact that she had a man, might not have been your approach. I mean, some girls are loyal. Sounds like she was.
But look, man, I'll tell you this.
But she still gave you that look.
You would have beat yourself up if you wouldn't have stepped to her. You know what I mean? Like, I know I would have. I'd much rather get shot down and know that I tried, you know what I mean, than to not try at all.
Yeah, it's like they say, they know how many points Michael Jordan scored in his career, but they don't know how many he missed.
That's right.
Well, so, okay, back to spending time alone. Johnny, what are some of the things you like to do when you spend time alone?
Oh, I'm straight up video game nerd, man. I've this past weekend when it was freezing ass cold outside, I was playing GTA Online because for some reason I like playing an 11-year-old game. Going on 12.
I wish I had more time.
I wish I did too, because then I wouldn't binge play it.
Well, I do work a 40-hour gig, and I am a full-time parent, and I do have our little podcast, man. I'm trying to get up off of the ground, and I spend a lot of time on that, working on thumbnails. I'm trying to make us an intro. I plug our show on different social medias. So if I'm not working, parenting, or trying to get this show off of the ground, my free time is usually spent with some ladies. I enjoy the company of some females.
Yeah, I'm
Now, okay. So now I know technically that's not alone time when I have the ladies, but that's how I like to relax. That's my downtime.
Yeah.
Now, something else that is essential to self-reflecting is having a way to meditate, shall we say. Johnny, you want to talk a little bit about how essential meditation is?
One of the biggest things I tell people, and I've said this on a few of my Instagram, my YouTube posts, is that, listen, when you might not have a whole lot of free time throughout your day. I've had people say to me, look, not only do I not have any time that's free, I couldn't even tell you how much it costs. But the thing of it is that even if it's 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, take that few minute vacation. Find yourself a quiet place, put the headphones in, and if that helps, you don't need total silence. Look, people meditate in different ways. It's not all crossed legs and ohms. You can kick back in a recliner, close your eyes and relax. You're not taking a nap. Stay alert, stay awake, and I want you to clear your mind. One of the biggest things that I tell people, because I practice this meditation myself, when I get into that state of relaxation, I like to imagine that I'm actually melting into the surface that I'm sitting on. That way you just kind of relax every muscle in your body. You become part of the furniture. And for that time that you're down, you're completely relaxed. You're just kind of either clearing your head or focusing on, like we said earlier, a little bit of reflection of what you could have done better or what you're grateful for, or maybe a combination of those things. Even if you're not the praying type, every prayer usually comes with, being happy for what you have, asking for that daily bread, and, what they call supplication, offering your part of things. Well, guess what? You owe that to yourself too. So when you do that meditation, I want you to be able to do that, within your own mind, within your own, being, within your own, within your own day, your week or month. I want you to be able to kind of reflect and think about what you can do better. Those are the kinds of things that you owe yourself as well.
And we keep losing TK tonight.
Yeah, it's a rough one, huh?
Yeah, well, I appreciate him tapping in and helping us out.
Yeah.
So one of the things maybe TK can self-reflect on later is how to get some better internet in the mountains of West by God.
West by God. Banjo wireless.
So meditate. You're right. There's different ways you can meditate. Really, I think it's just essential to relax your mind and learn how to focus it properly on the task at hand.
And a lot of people ask, well, how do you clear your mind completely of all thoughts? It's not easy and it takes practice. But the best technique I've ever been told is if you're looking to completely just wipe your thoughts and just kind of try to think about as little as possible while still being conscious and relaxed, I was told try to predict what your next thought's going to be. As paradoxical as that sounds, that does quiet your brain a little bit. And, you know, at least in my case, it kind of makes your brain shut up for a minute.
What's up, TK? In the building.
Yeah, man, I keep losing service, dude. I got to figure something out down here, man. I've tried everything. I just can't.
So we're talking a little bit about the importance of being able to meditate and clear your mind so you could focus at the task at hand. You want to speak a little bit about on how you meditate down there in West by God?
Yeah, man. I try to meditate every day if I can. And I also I try to speak phrases of manifestation, you know, a little bit.
There's something to that.
You know, anything that I may think that I need or want to accomplish in my life or whatever, I line up my 3, 6, and 9 chakras. You know, they say that if you write something 3 times, then 6 times, and 9 times, you do that in the morning 3 times, the afternoon 6 times, and then in the evening 9 times before you go to bed. And then you do that before and after you meditate. And not only does it relax you, but you.
Damn, I wanted to hear the rest of that.
Yeah, so did I.
In fact, I'm going to go light some incense right now.
Oh. Okay. Well, these guys are doing that. Let me take it.
I'm not going to light it. We interrupt this podcast to go light incense.
You create a gravitational pull with the things that you want. You manifest them. You know what I mean? You make them real by saying them. And I don't know what it is. Something about 3, 6s, and 9s in this universe. When you get your 3, 6s, and 9s aligned when you're meditating, you open up parts of your brain that you never could use before. Sometimes it just depends on, you know, the person. But meditation is very good for you, man. And if you want to self-reflect, that's the best way to do it.
And a good example is it's good for you to have your omega 3, 6s, and 9s. So nutrition, come on.
Is that a trainer joke, Johnny?
Well, I mean, kind of, but you really should actually get them. But you really should get your omegas.
Yeah, you should, man. Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about asking yourselves the hard questions. The questions you guys don't want to ask. If you don't know where to start, I'll give you a real simple one. Ask yourself, why do you hate yourself? Why do you hate yourself? Why have you allowed whatever is going on in your life that is bothering you and upsetting you that you don't know how to deal with or process? Why have you allowed this in your life? Why have you? So look, I say this all the time. If you have questions about masculinity, if you're having dating problems, if you were never given the toolkit on how to be a man, you could reach out to each one of us on the panel. Find somebody that kind of you gravitate towards a little bit and then hit them up and start asking questions. It's essential that you guys ask questions if you're going to change and you're going to get better. And look, we made those mistakes, you know, and
I can excel in telling you what not to do.
Right. But we could sit here all day and tell you what not to do, but are you going to actually make the changes in your life needed and necessary to move forward and grow as a man? Because we could talk about manhood all day. We could tell you the things that men should be doing. We could tell you the things you should be doing, but we can't make you do those things. You have to want to do those things. You got to want to change. You got to want to get better at whatever it is you're not winning at. And to do that, it's essential that you self-reflect. even if it's only on your day, even if you don't sit there and break down and analyze the entire problem in its entirety that you're having, but you at least self-reflect on your day and how that went and how you could change today to make sure tomorrow isn't a repeat of today. You don't want a do-over for tomorrow. You want tomorrow to be something that's going to be a progression, you know?
Look, dude, making the same mistakes twice is some sucker ass shit, man. You know what I mean? Like, real men don't fucking keep making the same mistakes over and over again. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you can't. I have until up later in my life, but you know, if you want to quit fucking up, you learn from your mistakes real quick, man. You reflect on what you're doing wrong, fix it.
Well, it's like my dad said, if you're wandering through the forest and you see the same tree twice, you're lost.
That's right.
I think I can't stress enough how important mentorship is to growing your mindset. And, you know, you could do bitch ass shit. You could be making a lot of bad moves, but until you're ready to talk to somebody and learn from them and listen to their experience and try to use their experience as a way to benefit your life. Because you got to understand it's not just with life, it's with everything. There's people that have way more experience than everything than you, and it's okay to seek their advice. There's nothing wrong with that.
Don't think for a second I don't reach out to other trainers.
Hey, look, man.
Go ahead, TK.
My dad used to always tell me, man, a punk is a fucking punk. And a lot of times, man, when younger guys don't have a good role model growing up, you know, that's what they end up turning into, is a fucking punk, because they're emulating some other asshole or whatever, you know. Reflect on who you are as a person and who you want to be as a person. And if you find someone who's, you know,
man,
we got to get it to be continued caption in his window.
It makes it a little rough with him in and out all the time. You want to finish your point, TK?
No, I was just saying, man. Look, it's hard, man, to admit when you're doing something fucked up.
Well, that's the hardest part. And
if you're a real man, it's hard, you know, because it's hard for a guy to admit when he's wrong or when he did something fucking stupid. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But
self-reflection, it helps you find out who you are, man, and how to stop making those kind of mistakes.
I would say that it's essential that until you're ready to take a hard look in the mirror and admit that you are the problem, your situation, you as a man, you're never going to grow, get better, progress. You're going to be the same loser stuck in place until you're willing to admit that you are the problem. All right, gentlemen, let's see here. What is something, what's the advice you would give to young men to be more mindful about making the time for self-reflection? Because you got to understand, a lot of us are busy. You know, we have jobs. There's people in school. Like I mentioned, I got kids. I'm trying to get this thing up and off the ground. What is something you could say to somebody who doesn't even know how to make time for themselves to self-reflect?
I'm going to say, you know, if it's not too much, set your alarm for about 30 minutes earlier than you normally would. You know, sometimes our best reflection happens after a good night's sleep. So, hey, go to bed a little earlier if you're able to. Set that alarm 30 minutes earlier than you need to. Make sure you're up, you know, make yourself a cup of coffee. You know, have that moment of silence where you get to stand in the window looking outside, whether you're planning your day or reflecting on last night or whatever it happens to be. give yourself that quiet time. Give yourself that coffee break on your own. Even if it means getting up a little bit early. Now, if there are other times throughout the day that you can find without having to do that, hey, great. But I mean, you know, if that 10, 15, 20 minutes throughout the day is not able to be found, you know, that's where we kind of have to plan ahead a little bit, as rough as that can be for some of us. Because look, I'm a procrastinator, not a planner, or at least, you know, that's my reputation growing up. But, you know, we're going to have to make that time and give up that little tiny bit of sleep to give ourselves that little tiny bit of awareness that we might just need for that day.
Well, self-reflection and meditation are best done either in the morning when you get up, so it's the first thing that you do or you say, or before you go to bed at night, so it's the last thing that you do or you say or think about. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be tattooed into your brain.
Yeah, there's got to be better relaxation techniques when one goes to bed at that particular point too. You know, you can meditate right before you close your eyes for the night, and that's a great practice. But make sure that you remember what you reflected on and implement what you're resolving to do if you're coming up with a plan for that goal.
So if I had somebody ask me how they can make 15 or 20 minutes out of their day, you know, to self-reflect, to meditate, and they're busy with this, they're busy with that, I would tell them, don't do it. Be a loser. Continue to be the same person you are tomorrow that you are today, flexible, compromising, probably weak, people pleaser. You know, be that person, stay that person. Because if you gotta want it, dog, you gotta want change in your life. You gotta want to be a man. You gotta want your situation to change. And if you don't, if you're not going to put the time into it, if you're not going to put the effort into it, then don't do it. Stay the same person that you are right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my clients will tell you, I say this to them ad nauseum. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You know, if you want something different to happen, you're going to have to change your habits. You know, I realized that after my marriage fell apart. Flew apart, yeah. You know, when that happened, I remember sitting there thinking to myself, you know, nothing she's doing right now is going to improve the quality of my life. She's trying to move on with her own. I better do the same. And nobody's going to get up and say, hey, you know what, Johnny, we gotta get your life better. Come on, come with me. Nobody's coming to your house to do that. All right. This is where that getting up in the morning, looking in the mirror, like Bill was saying, that way. You know,
it's all on you.
Making sure that you appreciate and respect yourself. You know, and add that to your planning out of your day. Not necessarily planning even out your schedule, but just planning out your attitude. Be ready at least that way.
I would say that self-reflection and communicating with yourself, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to take time. You have to take time to think about your character. You have to take time to think about your behavior. You have to analyze the reasons that caused the behavior or the situations that you keep putting yourself in, and where this comes from and what the outcome should be. There are effective ways to do that, but there's also, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get off track. You really are. I mean, you could Google it, but I think if you really want to make changes in your life and you really want to learn self-reflection, you need to find a mentor and talk to somebody who does it frequently and often if you're going to get the benefits from it. You know, I wouldn't just watch a YouTube video on it, because that's not going to change anything. You need to find a mentor who you can ask questions and talk to about this stuff, man. And, you know, we do that here on the panel even. I got some dating advice from Johnny just a week or two ago about this young lady I'm seeing. Johnny gave me a great piece of advice, man. I don't even think we should put it out there. I think we should save it for when we do a membership, dog, because, I mean, it worked perfectly, man.
Look,
but my only problem with it, Johnny, is
that's next level shit, man. Yeah, we can't be. That's next level stuff. And if somebody tries it from watching this, This is next level game, guys.
Right. And Johnny, dog, okay, my only problem with it is you were like, oh, she does that you should feel comfortable moving forward with her. And she passed your test perfectly, but I just can't let that excuse the vetting process that I've created for the women that I allow. Like, bro, she still got to put in the time. She still got, but hey, that's
why I said your response should be, that's a start.
Yeah.
Hey. That's exactly what I said, wasn't
it? That's the start. Wow. All right, hopefully we get TK back here. We'll go ahead and wrap this up tonight. Yeah. Let me see here. All right. Here he is. Give me just a second. Sorry about that. All right, TK. I'm wondering if you got some final words on the power of self-reflection before we wrap this up tonight.
Not a lot, man. I mean, we pretty much said everything that can be said. I mean, you have to self-reflect, man, to find out who you are, like we said earlier, and to figure out what you're doing wrong in life, what you're doing right, to get your life together, man, in the direction you want it to go. Nobody just goes through life on a complete whim and ends up,
Damn.
All right. Well, I can say that the power of self-reflection is an essential tool to being a better man. And that's what we want. We should strive to be a better man tomorrow than we were today. And for me to be a better man tomorrow than I am today, I need to take some time this evening, like TK said, at night, when I'm done with the podcast, when I got everything turned off, when I'm getting ready to go to bed and lay it down and self-reflect about my day, the choices I made, and how I can do better tomorrow. Not that I had a bad day at all, because, gentlemen, I'm always out here winning. But let me tell you, I can always do better tomorrow. I can be a better man tomorrow, and I'm going to keep self-reflecting and making these little adjustments to my character, to my behavior, and continue to grow as a man. And I'm constantly tested. Every single day, my manhood is tested, dog. Everybody wants to be a man till it's time to be one. Every day, I got to man up and do some man shit that I don't really want to do, but it's necessary. So I'm always going to self-reflect on that and use the power of self-reflection to make myself a better man for tomorrow.
You can be content, but you should always be wanting more. You should always be wanting something better the next day. You know what I mean? Everyone can be happy with where they're at, but you should never be completely fulfilled at 35 years old. You should always want more.
Johnny, the power of self-reflection.
Yeah, I mean, underrated. I think vastly underrated. But one of the things that we all, especially young men, have to be able to figure out as soon in life as possible is how to ask yourself the tough questions and how to not be afraid to answer them in your own mind. Remember, this is you talking to you. This is you reflecting on your own thoughts, your own feelings. It is okay to be brutally honest with you. It's okay to, answer those questions as honestly and earnestly as possible. The sooner that you can be honest with yourself about what you've done wrong or what you could do better or any of that stuff, the sooner you can set together. Now you've got a goal to improve on that. Now all you need is a plan. But you won't have that goal. You won't even have the goal if you don't have the balls to look inwardly and ask, why am I not successful? Why is this not working for me? What am I doing that I could be doing better? Because let's face it, we all have that nagging voice in the back of our head when we know we didn't do everything we could have done to achieve a certain goal. And that voice is going, well, you could have done this, you could have done that. And, if you're anything like me in my 20s, my ass is going, shut up, But the thing of it is, if you're not asking yourself those brutal questions and you're not answering them brutally honestly to yourself, you are not going to have a goal. You won't have a plan. And then all you're doing is making a wish.
You know, Johnny, I got to say, a lot of guys, they don't even know how to start asking themselves those kind of questions until something else happens in their life.
No,
And the first question that they have to ask themselves is, why did she leave? And then after that, that's when they start asking the hard questions. Well, why did she leave? What did I do? What could I have done differently? And if that's what it takes for you to start self-reflecting, then that's what it takes, man. I hate to see a woman be a motivator for men in any way, shape, or form. But if that's has to be your motivation for changing yourself, for bettering yourself, becoming a better man, for self-reflecting, then you can start with that question. Why did she leave?
Sometimes it takes humiliation, man. Sometimes it takes a guy getting humiliated once or twice to get his shit together too. You know what I mean? Man up, start doing shit the right way.
Trust me on that. Yep.
You know, you don't want to go through that again and again.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up tonight. I appreciate both you guys donating your time, because essentially what we're trying to do is spread masculinity and create better men, because we want you guys all to do better. So do us a favor, self-reflect about your day, make some changes in your behavior, work on your character, and do your best to be a better man. All right. We're the Three Wise Men, and we are out. Do us a favor, like the stream. Find us on YouTube or your favorite social media. Follow, like, subscribe. We'll be back on Thursday night. We're breaking down some dating profiles. And TK, I'm on the lookout for the profile of the week, dog.
Yeah, buddy.
We out.